Hello guys, welcome to another SSA video, and today we're going to be talking about the long jump. In this series of the long jump we're going to focus on the takeoff and why it is important for long jump performance. Now if you could smash subscribe, that would really help this channel out a lot. You can also check out our Facebook pages, one to do specifically on training, but also another one just on what the club does. Also, we train down at Garren's at Southend. We will train your children personally. The takeoff is highly important in long jump. Basically, the more speed we can get into the board, the further and higher we can jump. Now, height is also important for the jump, because if we can get height, you can, in theory, get more distance, because the higher you go, relatively, the further you will go, because you're further off the ground. Utilize that momentum, you hit the board, and you drive and you push off. Now, when we do our run-up, we usually do it over a certain number of strides. But that is not exactly an accurate way of measuring it. Another way you can do is to measure it using pigeon steps, putting one foot in front of the other. That's fine, but still not particularly that accurate, and especially if you're working with children, because let's face it, they seem to be ever growing all the time.
With younger athletes, you generally want them just to learn how to hit the board or get within the vicinity of the board. To work out the strides from the run-up, you put their heel by the plasticine and you get them to run a certain number of strides. You don't necessarily need to tell them how many number of strides, because some of them will just hop or skip or slow down or try and overstride when they get to that point. In other words, they don't run normally, they don't sprint normally to that point, because they're consciously thinking about their run-up, or they miscount their number of strides. A more mentally mature athlete might be able to count their number of strides back and have absolutely no problem. So you need to know your individual athlete and what works best for them. When we're working with older athletes, they're generally more confident in their abilities, they're grown into their bodies, so they have an understanding of hitting the board. Having their heel by the plasticine means they'll probably miss the board. So what we want to do is have their heel exactly on the plasticine. You can see that their foot will get more precise measurements to the board.
A more accurate way of measuring it is with a tape measure. And you work out the run-up first, get them doing a few jumps, see if they're hitting the board properly, then you measure the actual run-up. Now when it comes to the long jump itself, we want to have our fastest point at the very end of the run-up. When we're coming into the board, we're at the board, we're at our fastest, because we want to utilize that speed in order to get really far, really high, really long jump.
The long jump run-up comprises of 3 phases: an alignment phase, an acceleration phase, and an attack phase. The acceleration phase is very similar to that of a 100, 200 or 400 meter sprinter. It is very deliberate, and it's all about driving and getting power out. Build up your momentum. However, it must be controlled in order to enable you to have a rhythm. If you are reckless, you may have trouble hitting the board and or having to slow down in order to hit the board, or stutter in order to hit the board. Therefore, your jump will not be as far and you will not be as fast. The alignment or coming up phase is the phase where we seamlessly transition into our main running phase with power, speed and being completely upright, therefore enabling longer stride length. With 3 to 5 strides out from the board, we want to attack it with as much speed as possible. The last stride we shorten in order to be able to dip our hips to get higher on the jump. Head forward and keep tall, as this will prevent you from collapsing or over-rotating forward when you jump.
Now there's a number of styles people utilize. They see some people do a little skip, it seems, or they seem to rock back and roll in. That's fine. They all have their relative purposes and they will be worked for different individuals. What we want though is speed at the board. For the vast majority of people, if they were to go hammer and tong as fast as they can, they would slow down by the start of the board. So we want to wind and build it up. We build up the speed until we're super quick at the board and we take off. Also, for some people, if they go super quick, they miss their timing. They miss their rhythm and they might overstep the board. Likewise, vice versa. That can also happen. If we go too slow, then you take off too close to the board. Likewise, if you don't go quick enough and you don't build that speed up, you won't jump as far. So ideally, we want basically the first 3 strides you build in, you build that pace up, you go really, really quick, you hit that board. That's what I personally did when I used to do long jump, when I used to do decathlon. Now, some people like to just go quick from the start, and that's also good. So you need to figure out what works best for your athlete. Now guys, I hope that really helped. Smash subscribe, check out our other social media platforms, and I will see you in the next long jump video.